Okay, so now that we've got that introductory chapter out of the way, it's time to go back to where it all started. Except, not really. It's Valis, Legend of the Phantasm Soldier, released in 1992 for the PC Engine Super CD-ROM thing, and this is not the first game in the series that started it all. Hell, it's not even the first game released on PC Engine. For those who haven't been keeping up, and I can't say I blame you for a variety of reasons, Valis got its start in the 80s via Japanese computers, and by the time Valis III became a thing, someone at Technosoft had the bright idea of making a version of Valis I that didn't suck. Hence this remake. And since we've already given Valis III on Genesis a look-see, we could go back to this release, follow the story in chronological order, and not worry about how this one is newer than the later games or whatever. It's confusing, I know, whatever, anyways. So for the purposes of disclosure, we're playing the PC Engine versions from the first Valis collection that saw release in 2021 for modern platforms, so you know which versions are considered to be the pristine iterations in this franchise, if these are the ones they chose to re-release for the first time in forever. And while Valis I only saw release in Japan, Valis II and III did get localized for TurboGrafx CD, with English dubs and everything. This collection doesn't have those, however, but that doesn't matter now. Anyways. Valis tells the story of Yuko, average schoolgirl who is attacked by monsters and is chosen to be the Valis warrior who must battle the forces of the evil king Steve Rogels. I don't know. Whereas the computer versions were more free-roaming, disorienting hot garbage, Valis I on PC Engine opts for the approach taken by Valis III. A side-scrolling action platformer where you move along a given path, fight a bunch of monsters, collect occasional pickups such as health and magic boosts, as well as a variety of projectile attacks for your Valis sword, which vary from homing shots to multi-shots that can be powered up with further pickups. You also have a nifty slide maneuver that's not only useful for dodging things and clearing away some weak foes, but it can also be used to slide over narrow pits, crossing chasms in places where jumping isn't always ideal. On the surface, gameplay is on par with that of Valis III, which came out before this remake. A couple changes were made, of course. No charge meter, your shots cover a full distance no matter how often you shoot. No more holding up while jumping for a high jump, now Yuko has high jumping prowess all the time. No more tumbling knockback when you took a hit that pushed you into a pit, now it's just a little knockback. And finally, no sub-weapons on the field. Instead, whenever you beat a boss, you gain a magic attack that you could cycle through with the select button and execute by pressing up an attack provided you have sufficient magic to pull it off. These range from earthquakes to ice attacks and shields and other things. Whether these prove useful depends on the player, but they're an option if you need or want it. Now the good news is that Valis I is a step above its PC 88, 98, 7800, 400, 72, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever origins. It's a better playing game with some pretty solid controls. For the most part, the jumping feels a bit stiff still, but otherwise, generally better gameplay mechanics that feel a touch slicker than the previous releases on the console. And while the lack of playable characters is a bit of a blow, you've got more than enough fun weapons and projectiles to make up for that loss. That said, Valis I is no cakewalk. Enemy placement might not be as sporadically semi-random as the previous game, but they can respawn at a drop of a hair, which can make certain parts of the game a bit troublesome. Secondly, the collision detection in terms of landing blows with your actual sword can be a bit suspect, though once you've acquired a projectile attack of some sort, this is rarely something you need to worry about. If you bop your head onto a ceiling, Yuko will drop like a rock, which makes jumping less ideal in narrow passages, hence, you can just slide over it.
You are scum.
I do wish there was more fanfare whenever you got a new weapon from beating a boss. Your only real indication is an icon appears in your circle thing and cycling through your other things by pressing select. I don't know, it makes the whole deal less important if you're just gonna brush it off like that, but that's just me. The game gives you about 3 lives to start and is usually generous with the checkpoints. If you die, you retain your current projectile but lose 1 charge, and death can come pretty easy if you're not careful, though Valis I tends to be not quite as bone-crushingly painful as prior entries. You have unlimited continues but no password or save system, so it's a one-setting deal, though that means nothing when delving into the evil art of emulation because, you know. So visually, and let's get this out of the way now, the highlight of these Valis games on PC Engine at least are the cutscenes. which are these anime sequences with simple animation and mostly moving lips that are complemented with some decent voiceovers, which is usually the norm for these things.
世が暗黒街道王、そして全時空の支配者ローグレスだ。無力な小娘が必死で戦う様を眺めるのも一興。楽しませてもらったぞ。だがそれもこれまでだ。
But in terms of the in-game visuals, Valis I looks fairly decent, but is a step below that of the previous games. The sprites are a little smaller, but still look fine. The scenery is serviceably okay, if not a bit dull at times, and visually not the most exciting thing, but still a fine-looking game regardless. But here's where the other novelty of the CD format comes into play. Nice, crisp, Redbook audio that brings about some wonderfully composed background music that's energetic, moody, and whatever else fits the current mood of the stage you're in. These are basically updated versions of the same tunes from the original computer versions, but with proper musical instruments playing these things out, and they sound pretty fantastic. For the most part. A couple of tracks are kind of meh. I will rail on a number of faults within these PC Engine Valis games, but none of it will fall on the sound output, which is largely consistently excellent. Except for the sound effects, those are kind of hit and miss, but whatever. Now, whether you enjoy the actual tracks in each game or not is another story entirely, as we'll see in Valis II, but save that for the next time. Overall, and actually, you know what? I just sort of realized this as I was dwelling into the background for this stuff. As much as you want to say that Valis I makes a good first impression for the series if you were to play this on PC Engine, it's actually the last game in the series to hit the PC Engine platform, after Valis IV, which is the chronological last game in the series. Which I guess makes this one of the last Valis things to hit market for a good long while before these compilations came along. Yeah, let's just ignore all the mobile and visual novel stuff that creeped out here and there. I don't think anyone's missing much there. Maybe if it had been 20 years ago and YouTube wasn't quite as skittish on hosting a little adult material as they are today. But I digress. In any event, Valis I is a perfectly fine game in its own right. Yes, there's a couple of caveats that hamper the fun factor a bit, and the lack of save functionality does hurt the package somewhat. Again, a null point in modern collections, but an arguable negative for OG hardware, if you chance upon that. But on a whole, it boasts some solid, approachable gameplay with some fun stuff to play around with, and the well-meaning cutscenes make the whole thing almost worthwhile. All in all, Valis I on PC Engine is a good remake of some computer rubbish. Although the Mega Drive version ain't too shabby either.